Go download my free legato course right now and learn to play fast in the fastest way possible. Hey, so octave shapes. That is such a cool shortcut to building that skill of being able to go horizontally on the fretboard and vertically at the same time. You know, we learn these shapes, right? We learn the 5 CAGED shapes of the pentatonic scale. Or, you know, most people learn only one, the first one, because it's so useful, we tend to stick there. But I have 2 favorite shapes. I got the first shape and the 4th position shape. In the case of A, like we're in here, it's the 5th fret and the 12th fret. Those are the shapes I really like to phrase in. And then I basically use the other shapes as passing through, you know, mostly I pass through them. So I might play something, phrasing down here, then going. Right? So back and forth like that. But what happens when we learn scale shapes like that? That makes sense, right? We got dots everywhere on the fretboard, and we look at those dots of the pentatonic scale and think, okay, we need to chop this baby up. If we don't, we won't be able to learn it. It's simply too much. It's like staring at a map of a city and then having to learn that. What's the first thing you do? Chop it up, right? Take, you know, little squares and then learn each square, the ins and outs of it, and then move on to another square, right? The same thing we do here. That makes sense. We have 5 different CAGED shapes, which are basically pieces of a puzzle. The problem is that those CAGED shapes are vertical, right? Makes sense. And then afterwards, we learn them all, and then we say, okay, I got all the pieces of the puzzle now. I got all 5 CAGED shapes down. Then why can I not move horizontally? Because you've been moving vertically for like hundreds of hours, right? And playing up and down these CAGED shapes. So you basically move from one position to another, and you don't go, right? Because you didn't practice it. That's the only reason. It's not like there's something wrong with you or that's, this is hard. It's not hard. You just didn't practice it. But it's the assumption that once I have all the pieces of the puzzle, I will have the whole image. But you don't. You have to put them together. Just imagine learning a map, just a simple map of a simple medieval city, something like that. And then you divide that up into, you know, say 2 lines here and 2 lines there. That gives you 9 different squares, right? If you can navigate each square with your eyes closed and say, oh, that's the grocery shop, you go there, and there's, bam, that's it, right? I know every single square. Then you don't know how to go from one square to another. You have to visualize that. Okay, so I go down here, and then that happens in another square. And then, you know, it's going to take you some time to combine all 9 squares and really get totally fluent. Like, it's not just a matter of being able to go from one square to another that you've learned, one piece of the puzzle to another. You must get to the point where they're totally merged together, so the pieces of the puzzle disappear. That's the whole reason why we chop it up. But we fail to see that there's another level, there's another step we need to take. And that is integrating those pieces of the puzzle to the point where we see one shape across the neck. And that's what these octave shapes help you do. It's just one way of doing it, just one way of really getting a result really quickly. And I'm just going to show you how I approach this and play through these octave shapes that are both horizontal and vertical at the same time. So we basically move from a lower string to a higher string, from a lower position to a higher position, and it's the easiest way you can do it. It will take some focus, you know, especially the first 5 to 10 minutes. You'll really focus on, getting it right. But then if you keep focusing and keep, disciplining yourself to stay there until you got it down so you can remember it tomorrow, then I promise you, this will really make so much sense, and it'll just be a rapid path through all the shapes and one way of integrating them so you can really go in between the pieces of the puzzle. So let's just go close up so I can show you what I mean. So if you imagine having the first position minor pentatonic down here in the 5th fret, the A minor pentatonic, right? You've got all the notes in the 5th fret, and then you got the 8 on the B and E, and then 7 7 7 on the G, D, and A, and then you know the shape, right? First position minor pentatonic, and of course you can expand that to be the blues scale by adding the 8th fret on the G string and the 6th fret on the A string. right? But then what I do is I play in octaves, which means that, you know, you mark out the octaves, you start down here in this position, and then you say, okay, this is the octave. You go 2 strings up and 2 frets up, 2 strings up and 2 frets up. That's your octave, right? It's the same note. It's the A on the D string, so you got the A in 5th fret and the A on the D string in the 7th fret. And then you go 2 strings up from this note and 3 frets up because of the B string anomaly. So you got the octave, the next octave in the 10th fret on the B string, right? So you want to see if you can visualize that right now and say, okay, look at your fretboard and say, okay, can you visualize that? Can you see those? This is like a box, right, with 2 corners. And this is another box, but we got 3 frets up and 2 strings up. The same thing, of course, goes for the D. If you were to pick the D on the D string, or on the A string, sorry, in the 5th fret, then you would go 2 strings up and 2 frets up to get the octave, and then you would have the octave up there. That's not something we're going to use right now, but just first mark out the octaves, and then say, okay, let me play the blues scale here, right, on 3 strings. And let me play the last string, so I move my first finger up to the octave, so I go, and right there, I'm at the octave, and I can play the same shape almost. Just think in this shape, right? You got that minor third interval there, then you got the 3 chromatic notes in the blues scale, and you can play those in 3 different positions. So we go, alright, and then you can go up to the octave, and play the exact same shape, no different. And then you can move up to the 10th fret on the B string, right, and play the exact same fret. So you will go 5, 8 on the low E, and then 5, 6, 7 on the A string, move up to the octave, and have the 7th, the 10th on the D string, and then 7, 8, 9 on the G. Then you would move up to the 10th fret on the B string and have the 10th and 13th on that string, and then 10, 11, and 12. Three similar things, right? But then I add in my mind, first it can be a little bit of a problem going back, because you really have to visualize where is that shape. And that's the practice thing, right? Right? But then I add that last note of the blues scale, or the minor pentatonic. So I go up to the 5th fret on the D string, but then move up to that octave. Right, now I know where it is because I've been practicing this. Right, so I go, and then I'm at that place and can go, right? And then I got the next note up there, so I go 1 step below that, so I go 8th fret B string, and then move up 2 frets. And then back to it again on the way down. And now I got the whole thing. Now you can do a slide instead of picking it on the way down, right? Right? So now I have that horizontal and vertical shape. Right? And I can do that with any shape. Let's just try and do it with the second shape as well, so we know, so we just got the system down of how to do this. And I would go for, yeah, okay, so let's do the second here. The second position pentatonic would be 8 and 10 on the low E string. Then it would be 7 and 10 on the A string, and 7 and 10 on the D string. And then I got my blue note in the 11th fret on the low E string. So 8, 10, 11, 7, 10, 7, 10. Where is the... Right, you got the octave right there again. So I got the C there, and C there, right? Same shape. That's what makes this easy. So this is the shape. If I move that up to the C, and then the next C, same way as before, right? Right, and then I add the last note, so I go, and then I'm all full circle again. Right? So the same thing. Let me just play that for you slowly. And you can of course sit down and write these frets or these patterns down, but I highly recommend that you just learn the first one now so you can remember it. Just don't leave this session. Don't leave, don't put your guitar down until you can remember. Just keep practicing it over and over again. Alright? That's the way to do it. So remember to stay with one of these paths here, one of these octave shapes, for an entire week. So have jam tracks in the background, play in different keys, but stay in the same, so you really get familiar with it. Why are you so good at the first position minor pentatonic? Because you've been spending a lot of time there. You moved into that shape. It's familiar to you. What does familiar mean? It means that it's just, it's so easy that you don't think about it anymore. You have to make this as easy as not thinking about it anymore. And the only way to do that is to decide in advance how many hours or how many days or what period of time. You could do that for a month. You could say, okay, I want to have this path because it leads from the first position to the fourth position. It's a cool path to walk, and I want that to be as second nature as the first position blues scale. And the only way to do that is to decide in advance, everything I play is going to be in that shape. For a week, for a month, right? Everything I play, when I practice scale shapes, when I practice picking exercises, when I'm soloing up against the jam track, that is the shape I use. And you might want to remind yourself by putting up a post-it note or a piece of paper or, whatever you can do to make sure that everything you play is in that shape. Isn't that what you did with the first position blues scale shape? If you've, been practicing that everything you played was in that? That's why it's so familiar. So apply that to this and it will become as familiar. Even though it seems a little bit right now, right? So have fun practicing, and I hope to see you in the next video. And don't forget to subscribe. And if you got any experience in this area, any questions or anything you would like to add to this video, like good advice to other people who's practicing this, anything of value, and a question is also of value because that will guide me in what videos I should create in the future, then please write a comment below here. I read them all, I promise. So do that, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to go check out our website with free programs right below here. See you in the next video. Subscribe for more free videos. Do it. Do it now. Do it.